A startling discovery unfolded in the Arctic when a man stumbled upon a multitude of frozen monkeys, astonishingly still alive. The stakes were incredibly high, because if even one of these monkeys had escaped, it could have spelled disaster for the humans at the Arctic Bio-Research Station, known as Arct Tech Biosystems Research Facility, located above the 83rd parallel. Within this scientific facility, experiments involving a highly dangerous virus were being conducted. Tragedy struck suddenly. A catastrophic accident claimed the lives of the entire team, leaving only a virologist named Peter to witness the grim aftermath. However, Peter's fate took a dark turn as the virus infected him, setting the stage for an impending crisis. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, an epidemiologist named Dr. Alan Faragut, oblivious to the Arctic events, prepared for a routine presentation. He was supported by Dr. Sarah Jordan, who harbored a secret affection for him, offering unwavering assistance. Alan's world was soon turned upside down when he received an urgent message from the Arctic station. Military officer Sergio Becerro requested Alan's help in assembling a team to combat the outbreak. The team consisted of Alan, his ex-wife Dr. Julia Walker, Dr. Doreen Bowl, Sarah, and Major Sergio. The leadership of Auraria Corporation insisted on Julia's inclusion, even though she remained unaware of the pivotal role she would play. Alan's connection to Julia added another layer of complexity to the situation. The crisis escalates as infected Peter. Now his brother creates tension within the team. Boarding a plane for the Arctic, unresolved conflicts between Alan and Julia surface, stemming from their divorce triggered by Julia's affair with Peter. Upon arrival at the station, they are greeted by Director Dr. Hiroshi T. and his adopted son, Chief of Security Daniel. The situation is dire. Peter is critically ill, and 146 other base workers roam freely, ignoring quarantine. Hiroshi suspects an airborne infection, but the departing helicopter leaves them stranded beyond the Arctic Circle. As they examine Peter, they find a mysterious black fluid coursing through his veins. He attacks Alan with unnatural strength, seemingly transmitting the strange fluid. A sedative from Julia temporarily subdues him, leaving the team bewildered about the virus's nature. Ven investigates the infection source, suspecting the monkeys used in experiments. However, Daniel denies their presence, but suspicions are confirmed when monkey fur is discovered. The team examines Peter's deceased colleagues, transformed into black liquid by the virus. Amidst scientific mysteries, Alan seeks answers from Hiroshi, who provides little clarity. Discovering Peter's final video sheds little light but signals his escape. The unsettling realization dawns that an infected individual now lurks in the ventilation system. Gas is pumped through the ducts to neutralize Peter and prevent further infection. Driven by a personal connection, Alan ventures into the ventilation system to find his brother. Meanwhile, Doreen and Sergio find empty monkey cages, hinting at escaped feral monkeys, one of whom attacks Doreen but is sedated by Sergio. Examining materials from the infected, Julia identifies an enigmatic virus with unprecedented cell transformations. Simultaneously, Sergio secretly assembles a data transmission station, relaying information to superiors without the team's knowledge. He also discovers frozen monkeys attempting to flee, hinting at their escape. Returning to the base, he discreetly informs Hiroshi of his actions, suggesting shared intentions. A dark secret unfolds as Peter, using a guard's hand, infiltrates a laboratory and attacks local scientists, transmitting the ominous black liquid. 3 survivors of the attack now pose potential infection risks. The next morning, Doreen examines a monkey when an infected individual approaches. Rather than attacking, this distressed person experiences hallucinations. Another infected man is captured in the corridor and taken to quarantine. Panic grips the station's remaining personnel, demanding evacuation. However, it's not an option, as infected individuals leaving could spark a global epidemic. In isolation, Sarah tends to the infected, one in excruciating pain and needing morphine. Meanwhile, Peter, seeking Julia, nearly attacks Sarah in the storage area for the same reason. His intent is not to infect Sarah, but to secure morphine. Julia discovers Peter's recent experiments with unknown virus variants, Narvik A and Narvik B, on animals, intending to replicate them for insight into his condition. Doreen is informed that the base is working on a gene-altering drug, sending her into frenzy. She tries to force the black liquid into Doreen's mouth, but Doreen manages to restrain her. Julia and Hiroshi experiment on rats with mysterious viruses, first with Narvik A, which proves fatal. They then turn to Narvik B, where everyone survives but becomes zombie-like, capable of spreading the infection. A small fraction eventually regains some normality with treatment. The virus's unprecedented aggressiveness alarms the isolated infected, who demand release and take Sarah hostage. Alan arrives, promising a vaccine, and removes his protective suit to demonstrate sincerity. A healthy scientist wants to escape to reveal the horrifying experiments, but Sergio intervenes, ensuring secrecy. Alan confronts Hiroshi about his brother's involvement with the unknown virus, finding no satisfactory answers. In the evening, Hiroshi tenderly gazes at a photo album. Julia gazes at her reflection, experiencing hallucinations of her mutating body as a result of being infected. However, these are mere illusions. In the morning, Alan discovers Julia in the shower, but she recalls her encounter with Peter as if it were a dream, keeping her infection hidden. Later in the lab, Alan encounters Peter, who pleads for help and then loses consciousness. The number of infected in isolation multiplies while some roam freely. Concerned about Peter's potential escape, they relocated the infected to a secure lower level, dedicating the entire floor to isolation. Julia and Sarah collaborated on a rapid response test for virus detection. Julia notices Sarah's severe hand tremors, suspecting the Narvik infection and regarding her with suspicion. Doreen seeks to continue research on the monkey responsible for Peter's infection. Sergio, aware of another infected monkey's location, guides Doreen to the spot where the monkeys froze, was sparking suspicion of his prior knowledge. He admits visiting while transmitting data to the Pentagon, suggesting Hiroshi's deliberate infections. Sarah's test distinguishes infected, green, and healthy, clear, biomaterial. Doreen enhances infected cell growth with growth hormone, but Alan unintentionally discovers Cedra, an imperfect cure developed by Hiroshi. Testing ensues, isolating infected individuals below. Amidst the panic, the most dangerous infected rushes Julia, but Alan intervenes too late. Sarah, battling terminal cancer in secret, takes pills to manage her condition. Julia rechecks her test result. Her tube remains clear despite her infection, suggesting the test's ineffectiveness. People are isolated based on the wrong premise. Julia attempts to inform Alan, but Sergio detonates the satellite antenna, cutting off communication. Her efforts to move upstairs prove futile. In the morning, isolated individuals grow desperate, wanting to disable the building's air filtration system to compel Hiroshi's release. Julia opposes this and is placed in the corridor. After the antenna explosion, outside communication becomes impossible, leaving them without help. Desperation raises as the infected disable the air filtration system, sealing their grim fate. Sergio's actions, veiled in secrecy, conceal his role as the true traitor. With Hiroshi racing against the clock, left with only 6 hours to survive, he heads to negotiate with the infected. Scientists persist in their vaccine efforts, but success remains elusive. Alan visits his deteriorating brother Peter, attempting to save him with Sodra despite a grim prognosis. Remarkably, Peter starts to recover. On the lower level, an aggressive infected nearly attacks Julia, but she's rescued by Jane, an uninfected individual in a spacesuit. As Sarah encounters a symptomatic woman who tests negative, a test flaw surfaces. Alan refines it. Alan engages Peter, who regains consciousness but offers no coherent information about his work or Hiroshi's persistent inquiries regarding Julia. The virus reemerges in Peter, who apologizes to Julia before Alan artificially sustains his life. Julia and Jane explore the lower level, discovering Julia's childhood initials, hinting at her previous presence. Hiroshi negotiates with the infected, which disabled the air filtration system. He convinces them to restore it, turning unexpectedly violent. Against all odds, Hiroshi confronts the infected, evading aggression remarkably. Doreen's research unveils the virus as a conduit for altering genes, with Sergio's staged rat shelf incident and monkey incineration adding to the intrigue. Alan investigates Doreen's situation, suspecting Daniel's involvement. Sergio, uncooperative, hints that Dr. Offit holds the key to their questions, prompting a determined search for the elusive figure. Amidst declining health, Sarah seeks solace in morphine. During Alan's visit, she attempts to kiss him, but he realizes she's under the drug's influence and urges her to rest. In the tunnel, Hiroshi, Julia, and Jane fall under attack by virus carriers. All but Jane manages to find refuge in a secure room. Hiroshi shares a poignant story about his daughter, who bore a resemblance to Julia, although she has yet to grasp the significance of these conversations. Alan confronts Daniel, accusing him of Doreen's predicament. However, Daniel hints that they should investigate Sergio. They delve into Sergio's room, uncovering his wrongdoings and his hunt for Offit. Daniel retrieves the upper part of Offit from the snow, but Sergio arrives, striking Daniel and seizing the container with Offit. Julia tends to Hiroshi's wound in the observation room, realizing that Jane was merely a hallucination induced by the virus. As Sergio prepares to depart, Daniel confronts him, disrobes him, and leaves him in the freezing snow. Daniel recovers Offit and returns to the base. Heartbroken, Alan prepares to disconnect his brother from the ventilator when suddenly, Peter, during the night, a dormant brain reignites its function. Someone rescues the frozen Sergio from the snow. Julia's hallucinations worsen as the virus advances, including seeing a young girl on the lower level, possibly her childhood self. She also hallucinates Peter, who hints at uncovering secrets. Her hallucinations intensify as mutation sets in, cared for by Hiroshi. He administers a substance, inducing sleep, and departs the lower floor through a concealed door. Sergio awakens in the home of an Inuit woman named Anana, handcuffed, and she seeks information about the station and abducted children. Alan's research reveals that the Narvik B virus carries genetic information. Under pressure, Hiroshi confesses Narvik's curative potential, even against cancer. Daniel reveals that he disposed of Sergio, enraging Hiroshi. Julia awakens, seemingly in her childhood Montana home. Alan and Sarah replicate Doreen's experiment, accelerating virus cell growth and yielding horrifying results. Alan freezes the grown specimens. The scientists observe the virus withering in the cold, leading them to cool Peter in a cryo chamber. Sergio attempts to escape from Anana, who reveals photos of abducted children from her village, taken by Hiroshi 30 years ago. Sergio eventually frees himself and seizes Daniel, but Anana clarifies that he is her twin brother, Taluk, abducted by Hiroshi. Daniel's true name is Mixo, the same boy taken from the Eskimo village. Julia's hallucinations escalate, driving her to madness as she seeks answers to the surrounding mysteries. Cooling Peter in cryogenics to 14 degrees, Celsius appears to cure the virus, bringing joy to Alan and Sarah. Representatives of Auraria Corporation's superiors arrive at the station in helicopters. Meanwhile, Julia awakens with silvery eyes, similar to Hiroshi's. The rest of the series' mysteries unfold in the second part of our recap.